Star Wars Unlimited is booming with the release of Jump to Lightspeed and the amazing prestige cards. So many players are getting into the game. But did you know that over 60% of new TCG players abandon their first deck within the first 3 months? Today I'm going to show you a simple system to pick your first deck that's actually fun and competitive, even if you know nothing about the meta. Let's break down how to pick your first deck without wasting money on cards you'll never use. This method will work on any TCG such as One Piece, Gundam, Flesh and Blood, but we're going to focus on Star Wars Unlimited. The average new player spends about $150 on their first competitive deck, and more than half that money goes to waste because nobody teaches beginners how to approach selection systematically. When I started playing One Piece, I made every mistake possible, buying the coolest looking cards and building around single powerful cards without understanding those synergies. I didn't make that mistake in Star Wars Unlimited once I knew. Most beginner deck advice either tells you to buy this exact top tier deck, assuming unlimited budget, or buy whatever looks cool, leading to uncompetitive decks. What works is finding the middle path. A deck that matches your playstyle while having enough power to actually win games. When these elements come together, you got some magic going there. Step 1, find your playstyle match. This is the foundation everything else builds on. You need to honestly assess what type of strategic thinking you're naturally enjoying. Do you prefer direct, aggressive approaches? Do you enjoy setting up complex combinations? Do you like controlling the pace and responding to opponents? Are you drawn to unusual strategies that surprise opponents? Here's how to determine your playstyle. Try playing with a friend's deck first. That's always fun. You get to learn about the game and you get to try it out. Play the digital version if available. Carabas, pretty good. Force tables, also decent to learn how a deck plays. Watch gameplay videos and notice which strategies excite you. Your first deck needs to be something you'll enjoy playing repeatedly as you learn. Step 2, budget analysis that works. The real truth here, spending too little often costs more in the long run. A $50 deck that loses every game and gets abandoned is more expensive than a $120 deck that you'll play for a year. Here's your budget framework. First, determine your total learning budget for your first 3 months. This is typically the length of a set in most TCGs. You want to allocate 60 to 70% to your first deck. You're going to reserve 20% for key upgrades, and then you're going to keep about 10 to 20% for entry fees and accessories. Remember, you're building a deck, you got to go play, right? For example, with a $200 3-month budget, let's see how that breaks down. So you want to use about $120 to $140 for the initial deck. You're going to save around $40 for strategic upgrades. Then you're going to allocate around $20 to $40 for accessories or event entry fees. The key insight, invest in playsets. For those that are new, that means multiple copies. So that depending on the game, that's 3 or 4 cards. These are versatile cards that work in multiple decks than rather single copies in many different decks. Step 3, strategic deck selection. Now, we'll find a sweet spot between 3 factors. Alignment with your identified playstyle. For example, I like aggro, so I usually start off there. Number 2, competitive viability. And then the last factor is budget constraints. For different situations, if you prefer aggressive play with a modest budget, look for monocolor aggro strategies that require fewer expensive resources. So in Star Wars Unlimited, that could be double aggression. If you enjoy control but have budget limitations, consider mid-range decks with some control elements. If you love combos, look for budget combo decks that might be less consistent but capture the gameplay you enjoy. A perfect example is Django Tarkin Town that took several tournaments last season. It was probably one of the most powerful decks, but it also was one of the cheapest decks, typically costing the average player around $150, which is a great deck to show you. You don't have to spend all the money to get a good deck. Step 4, smart card purchasing. Which your chosen strategy, I'll share a real example. I was helping my friend John build his first deck. Starting with a $125 budget, and preference for what he liked was aggro. So we want to prioritize playsets of core commons, uncommons before any rares. What does this aggro deck needs? What's the go-to cards for this deck? We get those first. Then instead of buying packs, you want to buy singles, right? You want to fill out what you need. You want to focus on cards useful in multiple decks. So if you're an aggro player, you're probably going to want a lot of aggro type cards, which is perfect for aggression aspect. The result, you're going to have a competitive deck for about $100 to $150, and he won 3 out of the first 10 games, which that isn't bad for a beginner. The key lesson, acquiring the correct cards matters the most. Buy playsets of uncommon and staples first. Acquire the core engine cards needed to make your deck shine. Use budget replacements for expensive cards initially. Upgrade as you confirm the deck matches your playstyle. Step 5. Quick optimization. After your first 5 to 10 games, you'll see patterns on how your deck performs. This is where you want to make the small adjustments. Try these 3 things. How consistently are you executing your main strategy? Which cards regularly sit unused in your hand or you just resource every time? Which matches feel nearly impossible to win? Challenge yourself to replace the bottom 3 to 5 performing cards after your first 10 games. This is a simple adjustment. It usually allows you to boost win weight probably by 15%. If you're losing games, remember early losses are often more about learning proper card sequencing, not having the wrong cards. Your path forward. Here's your action plan. This week, identify your playstyle and set your budget. Are you aggro? Are you mid-range? Are you control? Are you tempo? During the weekend, you're going to research 2 to 3 archetypes that are within your match style. The following week, you're going to purchase the core cards from your chosen strategy. You want to go down singles. That's the best way to build decks. And then 2 weeks from now, play your first games and note the patterns. This could be going on LGS, or you could just hop on Carabas. A month from now, make your first targeted upgrades. You should have had multiple repetitions with this deck at this point. The single most important action, be honest about the playstyle you enjoy. Don't choose a deck just because it's winning tournaments if it's a strategy that doesn't excite you. For me, I don't like hard control. I don't play it. It's not fun. I like aggro and I like mid-range. So that's what I play. I hope this 5 system helps you find a deck that's both enjoyable and competitive. Remember, the goal isn't to immediately win tournaments. It's to find a deck that you actually want to play as you learn. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you won't miss my next video. Drop a comment letting me know which TCG you're getting started with. And if it's that Star Wars Unlimited, welcome to the club. I read all comments and might feature your question in an upcoming video. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you. Peace.